Hello, everybody. Welcome to EFL Championship Managers Ranked. This is a monthly series where we rank each and every one of the 24 managers working in the EFL Championship from worst to best. Think of it like one of those power rankings videos in American sport. We are primarily concerned with the work done by these managers in the EFL Championship, historically and heavily influenced by what is going on right now. Get involved down there in the comments with your views. Please keep calm. It's just a little bit of fun at the end of the day, and all completely subjective and not really worth getting angry about in any way, shape, form, or fashion. This is always an interesting one, the second one of the season, because traditionally we have a lot of movement at the start of the season, and this season was crazy, wasn't it? Like 11, I think, in the end, who were starting, their first game at the club they were with in August. So it's like a sorting out, because we literally had managers who hadn't managed a single game in the Championship, or indeed a single game in their career. So we can start to move the chess pieces around. We have 7 climbers, 10 fallers, and as of yesterday, the return of a very familiar face, one pretty high new entry. Let's get into it. This feels a bit unfair. At number 24, I've got Henrik Pedersen, who has essentially a championship career of 5 games and has won none of them. So there's not really a lot else I can do. I get there's obviously massive mitigating factors as to why he hasn't won any games. And you could almost argue that having 1 point for Sheffield Wednesday at the moment, I don't know, insert certain team is better than having, insert certain team. I don't want to give away my thoughts on one of the big fallers that is about to be coming. But yeah, hopefully we can bring Pedersen up the list. I guess that'll look like him having Sheffield Wednesday close when we've played 10, 20 games, etc., and getting that siege mentality. So apologies, Pedersen's bottom, but what can I do? I've dropped Sergei Yakirovich down 2 positions. This is part of the sorting from managers who've never worked in a division, frankly, and some have had good starts and some of them have had okay starts, and Yakirovich has had an okay start, and he's got Hull in 20th place, and he's probably, this happens a lot in these list videos, probably the victim of 2 other managers who have had good starts climbing above him, who you'll find out in probably 90 seconds or so. So, Yakirovich I've dropped down to currently 20th in Hull. I guess he won't be moving much if he keeps Hull in 20th, will he? Maybe. Well, I say he won't be moving much. Normally in the Championship, you can just keep your job. You climb a couple of places every time anyway, just by, kind of process of removal of other options. So there you go. Similar thing with Paolo Pezzolano at number 22. Watford currently in 17th with 1 win. He's only managed 5 games in the division, hasn't he? And others have started better. Hopefully that makes some sense to you guys in the comments. So here's kind of one of the reasons why you'd move those 2 down. We had Ryan Mason at 23rd, basically, because he was a complete novice, wasn't he? And even the foreign managers, I know I say we're focusing on the Championship primarily. Obviously, if I've got the choice between a manager who's never managed a game and a manager who's done stuff in Europe, I'll probably have to put that manager higher. But from what I've seen of Ryan Mason and West Brom so far, they're 5th in the table. And I did the watch along of the Wrexham game. I like the cut of his jib. I like what I saw on the pitch. So I'm going to guess he's going to gradually move up these rankings. And let's be honest, if West Brom finish 5th, or stay 5th, he's probably going to move up a little bit every single time as we get more and more evidence of what he's done. Remember, please, we are analysing what has actually happened, not potential and what could happen, sort of primarily. So, yeah, Mason up 2 from 23, and Sheehan also up 2 from 20, How many games has he done now? I think what worked against him in the last rankings is that I think a lot of his good work last year, I mean, he's only done 8-10 games last year or something like that, but I think the majority of it was done as caretaker manager. And then I think maybe I'm right, he got the job like 1 or 2 rounds from the end of the season. So he is a couple of games ahead of Ryan Mason, even though he's a couple of positions down from Ryan Mason. But here's where you get into the conversation of, is Swansea 7th more impressive than West Brom 5th? I don't know. There you go. There's one for you to debate in the comments. I would say yes. I would think you've probably, between West Brom and Swansea, you've probably got a handicap of 4 or 5, and he's only 2 away. So there you go. Sheehan doing well, isn't he, at Swansea? He will, like Mason, keep climbing this list if Swansea stay where they are in the table. Here is a fooler. It's an interesting one, this. I've got Will Still in 19th. So I like Will Still, and I kind of like what I've seen from Southampton, but you've almost got to say that for a new manager, we're almost exclusively judging on what has happened in this season. And I know he's done work in Europe, but he's got Southampton and he's got them in 15th place. And of course, I think they'll get going. Of course, I think they'll be higher than 15th place. But as of right now, if you stop the clocks and said the season's over and Southampton have finished 15th, Will Still will probably get sacked, won't he? So it's difficult for me to judge in at the moment, but that's what I have to do. And, well, it's the next manager. I've swapped places with him for reasons you'll find out. So I've dropped Will Still down 1, but I'm probably going to be bumping him up as we go on because I'm expecting Southampton to start winning and head up towards the top 6. Well, right about now, you'd expect it to start happening. So that's kind of the reason I've dropped him down. And when I press go on the slide, I've had to put Julian Stefan up 1 purely because this guy has had big adversity in the shape of a 7-1 defeat and then won the next 2 games, hasn't he? So I think Stefan, if you're doing a direct comparison with Will Still in my list, has a plus in the column and a win already in English football in the 5 games we're talking about here, whereas Will Still hasn't quite yet got going. So maybe you'll understand, maybe you won't, why I've swapped those 2 around, and Stefan at QPR goes up 1. And yeah, they're 12th. If he stays in 12th with QPR, he'll keep going up and up and up, won't he? Here is our biggest fooler in the list. And I've tried not to be dramatic, but I have dropped Phil Parkinson 6 places. So we had Parkinson in 11th, mainly because of history, because he hasn't managed in the EFL Championship for a long while. In fact, last time he was here was with Bolton, which wasn't successful, but there were big mitigating factors with the club basically falling apart at that point. So you're almost going on back-to-back promotions currently with Wrexham in divisions that we don't really talk about here, League 2 and League 1 and National League right the way through. But there were historical, really good things, going right back even before the 2010s, I think, with Parkinson. I think he's been a manager for ages. However, 2 things I want to say. Wrexham are 21st, which will not keep Phil Parkinson in a job. There's loads of eyeballs on them. There's loads of money spent. And the longer he stays in the bottom 4, where he is, frankly, in relegation form with fewer than 1 points per game, the more pressure will go on. And if you were to ask me right now, if I had to pick one manager in the Championship who was the most likely to lose his job next, whether that's right or wrong, way to kind of discuss managers, I would say Parkinson. So I've dropped him off big style. And yeah, as I keep saying as caveats, if he starts winning, he'll climb the list. If he doesn't start winning, he's not even going to be on the list, because you know exactly what I'm saying there. So there is our biggest fooler, Phil Parkinson, minus, I need 2 hands for that, 6. I've also had to drop Chris Davies by a place. Obviously, if we were doing League 1 last year, he'd be at number one? Or, well, that's an interesting debate, isn't it? What's more impressive, Birmingham 111 or Wrexham second? Probably Wrexham second, actually. He'd be number one or number two. But in Championship land, a couple of people we're going to speak about in a second, well, one actually, has overtaken him with a great start. And I'm certain he'll climb and climb. I think he's really good, Chris Davies. But again, it's the proof in the pudding, isn't it? We need to see it. We've seen some good stuff from Birmingham so far, but in reality, they're 11th. And again, I'll play that if we freeze frame the season, or fast forward to the end of the season now and Birmingham are in 11th, then that's probably going to represent an underperformance given the spend and the ambition and the expectation at Birmingham. Yeah, probably should have beaten Ipswich, but then if you look at it, who have they beaten? Blackburn late, and Oxford. So we will no doubt see more from Chris Davies, but he does drop one position. Does he? Or has he gone up one? Maybe he's gone up one. I think he might have gone up one. He can't have dropped one position because Big Val Ismail is exactly where he was. So I might have been speaking nonsense there. I think I've popped Chris Davies up one. Excuse me there. It's written the wrong thing on my sheet. Yeah, and Big Val is exactly where he was. The Blackburn Rovers manager. And Blackburn are 16th, and I was kind of hedging my bets with Val, even though I think he did an amazing job at Barnsley and all right at West Brom and sacked really quickly, and then they dropped down even further, and I thought he was doing all right at Watford, but he doesn't seem to stay anywhere very long for me to make a certain judgment. We'll see if he can stay at Blackburn for a long while so we can bump him up this list. Rovers 16th in the league. Blackburn, Ishmael, 15th in my list. Gerhard Struber is a climber up 2 positions for a brilliant start with Bristol City. He's done superbly. I possibly could have put him up more places, but it would have felt unfair to bring the people I'm about to speak about down, if you know what I am saying. But yeah, Struber couldn't have really done a lot more. He's unbeaten. He's come into a club where I felt they punched above their weight, and we know what can happen, when you change managers after a great season and finishing 6th like Bristol City did. And they've done really well. They're 3rd, and I can see, based on the video we did on the fixtures going to the next international break, it continuing. So yeah, great start by Struber. He's got his philosophy in there, and he will climb the list. He'll climb the list fast if Bristol City are up there in the top 6, won't he? So more power to him. I couldn't put him up any higher, because how can I move John Mousinho down at all when Portsmouth are 9th and they've only lost 1 game this season? And they've picked up where they left off last season. If you remember last season, they had really horrible fixtures actually to start with, and you can argue not great on the injury front as well. And from the moment where the hard run and the players came back, this is pretty much, maybe not top 10. I'd have to look at the numbers. Maybe it is. But they've been a very competitive Championship side. So, yeah, Mousinho probably on a fair few people's radar in terms of owners rather than people making lists. But he's doing really well. And you'd expect the climb to occur later in the season if he stays where he is. Cifuentes, I've left him where he is as well in 12th. He started well at Leicester. They're 4th in the table. A couple of really good results in there, particularly the one at home to Birmingham. That was a good tactical job done. A resilient fight back with 10 men against Oxford to draw some points there as well. They won at Charlton, didn't they? So, yeah, he's had a good start. And I guess I'll say he's had a good start. Leicester are 4th. They're a year 1 parachute team. So, he's had a past start. You expect year 1 parachute teams to be in the top 3, let alone the top 4. But we've only had 5 games. And I've just got him in the middle because it was a bit Jekyll and Hyde at times at QPR. You thought he was amazing. And then there'd be, kind of streaks of iffy results as well. So He can stay 12th for now. Sorry, Gary. I've dropped Gary Rowett down 3 places purely on the basis of a bad start here. And a bad start, as Sam pointed out, you can go into the minutiae of it and say, oh, unlucky here, could have got this. This is heading in the right direction. But it is 0 wins. And I don't think we've seen a clean sheet and we've not seen a home win. So the things that we laud Gary Rowett for are clean sheets, home wins, pulling a 1-0 out of nowhere, which he used to constantly do at Millwall, didn't he? And obviously he's high up in the list because of sheer experience and playoff finish with Derby and a decent job at Birmingham and all of those excellent years having Millwall up there in the top 10. So his history's keeping him high, but the start to the season has pulled him down into 11th. Hope that makes some sense. Frank, we've left where he is in 10th. I feel like I should have put him up, but I couldn't because there were 2 other managers in and around Frank Lampard in the list who I feel have actually outperformed him, who I have put up. So I'm sure he'll care deeply about this list, Mr. Lampard, but I think he's proving me right. He's proven a lot of people wrong in that this Coventry team's good. They've picked up where they left off. They're making tons and tons of chances. I guess he suffers in terms of my, going higher in my top 10 in terms of history, that he's just got that one season in the Championship with Derby complete with the playoff defeat, and then one incomplete season with Coventry with the playoff defeat. So he's kind of come close twice and no cigar. And will this season be different? The start of it says it might be, and Coventry are very fancied in the betting, and Frank can climb the list, but I've chosen others at this juncture. I don't know how I feel about this. I've moved Liam Manning down 5 places, which feels a little bit unfair, but again, I've wanted to move a couple of people up. And Norwich are 10th, and they've won 2 games. Obviously, when we last did this, Manning's stock was mega high because he'd just taken Bristol City to 6th and then moved on to Norwich. So unless he was in the playoffs, it would have been hard to maintain the stock. Imagine he was a share on the on Wall Street or whatever, to stay there. There would be a natural regression in my list, I guess. And just a little bit of hit and miss the start of the season for Manning and for Norwich. But the thing with Manning is it's always a slow burn, and he always gets it right in the end. So probably what's going to happen is I'll do this dramatic draconian -5 now, and he'll just gradually work his way exactly back to where he was if I know Liam Manning. But yeah, victim there of high expectations, stock being as high as it's ever been, and others going past him. And one of the others going past him is Rob Edwards, who I've moved up 1 place into 8th. And yeah, so the question was, at the start of the season, will we get the old Rob Edwards back that got promoted with Forest Green? I know that's League 2, and then got promoted with Luton, and then you were kind of saying with Luton, well, he picked up the thing and just ran with it, and how much of the work was his, and can you go all in and put him right towards the top of the list? And then obviously the disaster last season and the sacking, we had to put him down a little bit, even though he is a manager with a Championship promotion on his CV, which counts a lot for me in this list when we mention in history. So yeah, great start by Edwards at Middlesbrough. He's up 1 now and will continue to climb, obviously. I think that's pretty much guaranteed because they've already got 13 points on the board. So even if he drops the points per game a little bit, they're still going to be... You score 13 points in the first 5 games, you're pretty much guaranteed at game 10. You're probably going to be in the top 6, aren't you? So they've given themselves a lovely flying start to the season, haven't they? In 7th, I've got Nathan Jones. I've dropped him 2 places on the basis of 1 win in 5 to start, even though they could easily have 2 or 3 wins, couldn't they? Charlton, based on what I've seen, and others climbing. So Jones historically has been very good in the Championship, coming back into rescue Luton and then moving them into the playoffs, and essentially all the fingerprints over Rob Edwards' promotion at Luton belong to Nathan Jones, don't they? He just didn't stay to finish the job in the same way he didn't stay to finish the job and got promoted from League One. So the only promotion he's got on his CV is League Two Luton, until last season where he got Charlton promoted from League One. So there's a lot of history there that's backing Jones up, which means he starts high and will adjust during the season. So he's dropped a couple of places to 7th. But up a place is Mark Robbins into 6th. I think we might even have had Mark Robbins at number 1 in this list. Possibly after Coventry finished in the playoffs and maybe other people that got promoted left. It's difficult because Mark Robbins' history in terms of being strong in this list is basically Coventry. Amazing job and promotions out of League Two, League One, and then playoff final, sudden death penalties, and so close. But we said the fall off when Eddie Vivash left at Coventry was problematic for him, and obviously anyone getting sacked is going to drop down the list, aren't they? But mojo back, 2nd in the league with Stoke, and if he's going to do it all over again with Stoke, what he did with Coventry, he's going to head back up to number 1 in the list, because Stoke have been unmanageable in the Championship. Everybody's failed who's gone in there. So yeah, Robbins climbs again, and so does Paul Heckingbottom. And people always get a bit sniffy about Heckingbottom, because I do rate being promoted out of the Championship as a big deal. And it's not a given, even if you have year 2 parachute payments like he did at Sheffield United. It's not a given that you get the job done, and he got the job done at Bramall Lane and got promoted into the Premier League. Obviously, there's been work, not great work at Leeds, but at Barnsley as well in the past for Heck. He dropped down towards the end of last season with that bad run for Preston, but I've actually got to bump him back up 1, because this is old school Preston. This 8th in the table, where sort of Alex Neil used to have Preston for the most, but I think that might have been his highest ever finish. So he's had a really good start, and he's nearly beaten Middlesbrough, and he's beaten Ipswich, and he's beaten Leicester at Deepdale. So a good start, plus that golden ticket, the previous Championship promotion, puts him at number 5. And number 4, down 1, is John Eustace. I mean, Derby are 19th in the league, so it is a bad start. But there's also a new entry that's put John Eustace down a place. Spoiler alert. And I'm giving Eustace a pass for the start of the season because of injuries, basically. And they got 5 points from 5. They're going to trend up. Great win at West Brom was a Eustace special. So what I've done, I've given him a pass for that. And I still think the work done by John Eustace at Birmingham, Blackburn, and then Derby last season, that was a great escape, puts him right up there in terms of body of work against expectations at the club you are. Yes, other people below him in this list have been promoted, but you know, you always have to get that context. Sometimes someone finishing 13th is more impressive than someone finishing 2nd. It just is. And we have to understand and accept that, even though I do call promotion a golden ticket, don't I? So there we go. Eustace down a place, and Alex Neil down a place with his golden ticket, his promotion back in the day with Norwich. It's not just that, though. It's really good work at Preston. We just mentioned Heckingbottom and having Preston 8th. Well, here's the guy who put them there. Bit of a middling start by Millwall. 1-2, lost 2, drawn 1. And Sam Parkin covered them on Saturday and said he thinks that they're going to have to move away from Coburn and Ivanovic starting up front together, which is a bit of a shame, really, because I love a 4-4-F in 2, especially when it's Millwall doing it as well. But yeah, just a very viable Championship manager. good history, good finish last season with Millwall as well, up in 8th. So his stock stays high. The only thing he's going to be victim to, if he's 13th, other people will overtake him. And, drum roll please, he is back. And he's back right at the top of the list. Chris Wilder, we've done lots of videos about Sheffield United. I say lots. We've done lots in the summer when Wilder was sacked and Sellers was hired. And we've done lots over the past couple of days when Sellers was sacked and Wilder was rehired. And last season, I had Wilder at number 1 for a fair while. My argument was Leeds and Burnley had better resources and he had a little -2 against him. And there were times where, you know, I thought he was doing the best job out of the 3 there, and Parker and Farker doing bits. So Wilder returns. Why have I got him second? Promotion in 2018-19 was extraordinary. It was absolutely brilliant, wasn't it? With the flying centre backs coming forward and overlapping. So that counts for a lot. Taking sort of sleeping giant in Championship terms like Sheffield United out of League One and through the Championship. I do accept the argument that I've got to mention Middlesbrough and a cup of tea at Watford where it didn't work. But Chris Wilder is back and he's not managing Middlesbrough and Watford. He's managing Sheffield United, and there's something about that guy in that club. And I know people will say football is an outcomes business and get obsessed with the fact he didn't get promoted last season. That is an objective fact. Chris Wilder did not get promoted last season. But I still think that was a damn good managerial performance. 92 points on pitch. Record win in the playoff semi-finals. And yeah, I accept the comments that say, that blame him in the playoff final, that he could have got them over the line had he done different stuff. Yeah, ifs, buts, maybes. I think that's pretty harsh. I think he performed very well throughout the season. Horrible week, wasn't it, where they lost 3 games and handed the initiative to Leeds and Burnley and Farker and Parker. Missed automatic in a season where 2 teams got 100 points. And then, I don't know, there was something in the air with Sunderland, wasn't there? I think he was unlucky not to get promoted. And we can be very binary about this and say that good outcome equals good performance, bad outcome equals bad performance. You have to accept the role of luck in sport and in life. And I know it's an intangible that won't, data heads won't be able to reconcile on their spreadsheets. But it's a thing, it is a thing. I mean, even think about the winning goal in the playoff final. Ahmed Hodzic was off the pitch, having concussion protocol, wasn't he? And they just got caught out at the very, very last, didn't they? So, hey-ho. What I'm saying is I think Chris Wilder's body of work warrants him being in second in this list, despite the fact he's been fallen out or sacked or left, use whatever words you're comfortable with, and rehired. Well, left Sheffield United twice and been rehired twice as well. Hired 3 times, if you get my drift. At number 1, I'm going to keep Kieran McKenna up there. Now, I get some people who say, well, Ben, you're being a great hypocrite there because you've criticised Will Still and said that if Southampton finish 15th, Will Still would probably be sacked. By the way, if Ipswich finish 14th, where they currently are, Kieran McKenna might be in trouble. That would be an interesting conversation to see the reasons why they'd finished 14th. What Kieran McKenna has that Will Still doesn't is the most extraordinary promotion in the last probably 15, 20 years in the Championship, back-to-back 2 seasons ago with Ipswich. That counts for a lot for me. What he also has is that honking great 5-0 win in the last round. Maybe I would have dropped McKenna down if he hadn't have had that. But there is some sense that, okay, the ship's steadied, Ipswich are good to go. And I don't think I can warrant dropping McKenna off number 1. The only way I would is I'd have to put Wilder straight back to number 1. So you could argue that. I couldn't push Eustace, Neil, Heckingbottom, and I can't have Jones or, Robbins or Edwards jumping like 10 places up to number 1. So McKenna kind of stays there by default. Helped greatly by the optimism caused by a massive 5-0 win in the first fixture of the new block after the international break. And, of course, helped massively by the double promotion and the extraordinary work done there. So we'll leave him there. And that is your completed list of Championship managers ranked from worst to best. Let me know your thoughts. Phil Parkinson, biggest fooler, -6. Liam Manning, -5. Gary Rowett, -3. Am I being curmudgeonly and awfully unfair to those managers? You can tell me in the comments. Try and stay calm while you do it. There's no need to get angry or insult me. It's all a little bit of fun. The biggest risers, some +2s. Ryan Mason, Alan Sheehan, Gerhard Struber are the +2s. Heckingbottom up, Robbins up, Edwards up. I think Davies was up, even though I've probably written my notes wrong there. And Stefan up as well. Particularly their new managers kind of finding their feet in the division. And the return of Chris Wilder. Am I right to drop him straight back in at number 2? Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. We'll do this again in October. I look forward to it. I look forward to your reactions. I'll say it again. Please, please keep calm. I know those people who are able to control their emotions in the YouTube comments will be saying, "Oh, shut up, Ben. I know how to conduct myself on the internet. I've just got to tell you from my experience, a lot of people don't." Okay, so let's have a good debate, and people get very tribal, very emotional, and therefore very angry directly with me about this stuff, and it's not very nice receiving it. Let's just say so. That's why I am labouring the point there. And why don't you have a little click up there to see last month's list and rationale and how many times I contradict myself. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up, subscribe. You know the deal.